Okay, welcome to Thursday, April 24th, this is the Kenston School Board special meeting. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first, if we can all stand.
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Costello, would you please call the roll for our special meeting?
Yes. See, Mr. Bragansky is not here at the moment. Mrs. Gaskins?
Here.
Dr. Kraus?
Here.
Mr. Manning? Here. Mrs. Troutman?
Here.
Okay, welcome to our April 21st special meeting of the Kenston School Board. The purpose of this meeting is a work session to meet with our Ohio School Board Association, Mr. Weidlich, who is present with us today, to discuss the search procedures and timelines for our process related to superintendents of the schools. Pursuant to our board policy, hearing the public is not permitted at our special meetings. And Mr. Costello, you know that Mr. Bragansky has
I did.
the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are going to go right to its discussion, and I will turn it over to Mr. Weidlich from OSBA to lead and guide our discussion on what he wants to ascertain from us for this search. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, folks. We're going to have a good time tonight discussing what you need in a new leader in your district, and we're going to do everything in our power to help you find one that meets your needs. Do a lot of these over the years, and we feel like we've just been successful at it, and I don't see why we wouldn't be with you folks either. So let me start out by handing out a packet here, and there's a lot of information in it, so if you want to indulge me to stay with me until you get to sections, we could probably do this more efficiently. On the left, there's a planning agenda for what I'm going to talk about tonight, and my business card if you need that to contact me directly. I want to go over what our goals tonight are. There's really two main goals. One is for us to identify the skills and characteristics in a draft form, at least, of your next school leader. So we can start to put together a brochure, we'll call it that for now, an advertisement to attract candidates. And so we need to put together some information that would help us describe what you're looking for, characteristics of the district, things like that. So goal number one, but one of the goals is that we're going to identify those characteristics. Second goal tonight is to put together a timeline. Some of the timeline we will try to pin down tonight. Some of it that's 6 weeks down the road, we may not have to pin down the specific date, but maybe we can pin down the week. If we can pin down dates, great, but some of these things it's not necessary right now that we get all the dates. In most of what we're going to do tonight, I've prepared some drafts of some examples, some sample timelines, some examples of superintendent other searches. I've gathered some information about your district myself, but everything that we're going to talk about is completely draft. So keep in mind, I may have made assumptions that may or may not be true. I may have found information on your website that has been, you have more relevant information or more current information. So I've tried to speed our process up tonight, but it's not to keep you from doing your work. It's just to help you see examples and have ideas that would be helpful for you. It also helped me to understand your district a lot better in reading some of the documents, and I will comment on your district in particular on one document that I found extremely valuable. It's your 2021 quality report. Very good summary of practically everything about the district in one shot. And so it was helpful for me, and we'll talk about how that information might be used later. Questions or comments about our goals for tonight? Interrupt me, ask questions, and we'll take you through a process that will help us get there, but we can take detours anytime we need to. Let's first of all talk about the timeline. Oh, shoot, it's not in your packet?
I emailed it to everyone. I got
Oh.
one.
Is anybody missing a copy? I'm more than happy. I have an extra
Did
couple,
you
I
not get
think.
that in your packet? I
There you go.
apologize for that. I can pull mine up on the screen.
Sure.
Yes, I can, absolutely.
Jen, do you have one?
I can pull it up on my email.
Okay,
So the email, you can open your email, I emailed it to you guys. Yeah,
We're good.
you printed.
okay.
And I apologize for that. It should have been in your packet there so we can take notes right on it. I'm pulling it up here, making sure I get the right. I want to go through the items that are on the agenda before we actually talk about specific ones, so you can see how things would fit together. Our first step is to develop the draft copy of the brochure for you. And in here, in your packet on the right side, I've got some draft notes. And I have a draft of another district's example of the final product. So you can get a sample of that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll look at the timeline on getting that ready to do that. Then we want to talk about the timeline on how long you'd like to recruit a candidate. It's posted already. We posted as soon as you agreed to work with us. And we can post that for a time period that you feel comfortable with. The longer, sometimes better, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about focus groups and if and when and how you might want to do those in the district. We'll talk later about some of the formatting things, not later, not today, but we just talk today about scheduling that more than anything. And then we'll look at some timelines here of when we close the nominations, and then there would be a period of which you could read them. You'll get a chance to review the online system that we have. It's all digital now, so we'll give you a login to the system and see all the candidates that you would have. We're seeing 15 to 20 candidates in most searches right now, so that would be, if you're going to need time to read each of those, we'll need to make sure we've allotted enough time for you to read that many potential applications.
Do you guys rank them in any way, or you just give them to us cold?
We will evaluate them, and I will have that information available on the night we discuss them.
Okay.
We prefer that you folks look at all of them and have a genuine opinion first. But I will bring our data with us to that meeting.
Okay.
We'll have retired superintendents, former board members, et cetera, do some evaluations, and I'll have that information with me that night or day. So between the closing date and the first next board meeting after that, we'll have to see how long it might take for you folks to spend some time with those applications. And then at that time, we'll select and narrow down our candidates, narrow it down to 4, 5, 6, kind of depends on what the pool is and which ones you feel comfortable asking to spend some more time with you, and you spend more time with them. If it gets over probably 3 or 4, we may schedule it over 2 nights. Then you will deliberate on those and see if you want to bring back 1, 2, or 3 for a more formal interview. Between those times, of the first round and the second round, we will get you information on the candidates' references, and we will provide additional references for you for those candidates in addition to the ones that they provided for us. And we'll also have them take an achievers test, but it's an online system where the behaviors have been benchmarked with other superintendents. And you can see how this person ranks on those same behaviors as a superintendent. And nobody's gonna be perfect, but you can see if they're higher in leadership or vision or finance or those kinds of things. And we normally only do that to the finalists. Because if you're not going to interview them, you don't need them to take that assessment. Then the last part of the phase is having the face-to-face interviews, and you would have a choice of how you want to do that. But this is what we'll talk about a little bit tonight, whether it's just with the board, whether you want it with the board and others. Sometimes groups have a community forum where the candidates can come and either answer questions or present. And I'm trying to just give you the overall view process here so we can go back and go down through the steps. That process is something that is variable to what you might need. Recently, I've done one where the board, community groups, and staff were in a rotation of the finalists, doing an interview process. And all three had set questions that were asked of the candidates. So the community, for example, sent in, there was 23 submissions of questions that they wanted to ask the candidate. The board narrowed it down to 6, and all the finalists were asked those 6 questions with the community members and present. It was nice. I talked to one, said, you picked my question. So that was nice. Other places have them come in and possibly present on one topic you'd like to hear them talk about. So we'll talk about that later, but that's more of an evening event where it's going to take several hours. I would probably average at least an hour per candidate. So if we have 2 candidates, it's going to take a couple hours. With 3 candidates, it's probably going to take 3 hours. And then hopefully that evening or shortly after, you will deliberate and make an offer. As an overview of the process, any questions? And we'll start going in line by line here now and trying to identify what it is that the timeline that you're looking for. All right, we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, so we're tonight, and we want to develop a draft brochure. Don't worry about the content right now, because we'll talk about that after we get the schedule together. Some of the information, like we said, is in here, is somewhat complete, but it needs to be checked by possibly staff, the treasurer, others, to clarify that information. And then we'll get it back to me. Our staff will lay it out in a nice design, and we'll go back and forth maybe once or twice, making sure that it has what we need. So, for example, between now and the final draft, I'll need to get some good quality pictures that you would like to include on the product, some specific data about the school that you would like to include. The one I've got in there is a sample, so again, that could be the data you include. It wouldn't have to be the data that you include. So let's talk now about what kind of time frame it would take for you to gather some of that kind of information. And
Can Katie help us with
so
this?
I have
Yes.
one that has yours specifically on it.
Yeah, this.
Oh, you already got that? I put it in yours. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could,
I
I
put it
could,
in there. Oh, that's in there, but not the schedule.
yeah, that's okay. You could have this tomorrow. That's
Okay.
a quick one for you. I noticed that some of this stuff came out of our CAFR.
It came out of various sources that I
Yeah,
find.
and I can read through with Katie McGrath, who is our community relations. I can just verify to make sure that, we're speaking the same information here. And so we could edit this packet, this draft, and this document, by Monday. I would
Okay.
imagine
Is
we
that
could have it back.
realistic for you and Katie?
It will be, yes. As long as that works for you, sir. We can do that.
So you can get the
I can get the financial
draft
information
comments,
and the draft.
brochure information to me on Monday.
Yes.
That means I can probably turn it around to you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Are we looking at this document right here?
Yes, that
That will
content.
be the one.
Okay,
This content, or something like it, will end up in a
okay.
product that looks like this.
Okay.
So then when when it comes back on Wednesday,
Mhm.
that will go to all of us board members to put an eye through.
Yes,
Get
absolutely.
feedback on,
And you
correct?
can work with communication folks too.
Right.
Because we may emphasize things and space, we may edit, and if we chose poorly, you have to let us know.
Mm-hmm.
So then we would have it by Wednesday
Mhm.
to review it and give feedback on.
Could you get it back to me then by that Friday? The 29th?
9th.
29th, so that we would have to review it and give you comments by Friday the 29th.
And then if there was.
That's okay with me, I don't know about the rest of the board.
Right, so just so I'm clear, we get the draft on
The
April 27th.
Correct.
You want feedback by the 29th.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that fine with everyone over here?
Yeah, Miss.
Tom?
Are you gonna be able to do that?
Huh?
Are you gonna be able to do that?
If you need more time, I'm.
Or do you think
I could
Monday-
take it with me.
Are you
I
sure?
mean, yeah.
I mean, it's basically just looking it over. and
I know,
giving your
but she's
thoughts.
got a graduation
Oh,
to
she's
go
got
to.
But I can do it where I'm at.
Monday? Give you another weekend?
No, I'm okay with Friday,
Okay.
I'll take it with me.
Just this kind of like minor, but Nancy goes by Mrs., doesn't she? Not Ms.?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it caught my eye. I just want to make sure that gets corrected.
Yep, everything will get corrected.
Okay, sorry, I kind of edit when I read,
That's
sorry,
fine.
it's a habit of my
Send
job.
your edits. I'll send out these, I can, you can send the edits also.
So where we're at so far, so by Monday,
Mhm.
Paul and Katie will get the additional data and pictures and get a draft to you. And then the draft will come back to all of us, Katie, Paul, and all of us, the board, by Wednesday, the
Yep.
27th. Then we will submit our feedback and comments to you by Friday, April 29th.
And that means that I could get a final one to you probably on Tuesday, May 3rd. Give them Monday to, I might get it done by the end of the day, Monday, depends the quantity of changes. Hopefully very few, might be done on Monday.
Okay. And then the brochure will be posted
Mhm.
on Tuesday then, or will
Yep.
it be Wednesday?
Give me Wednesday. We can beat these dates, we'll be fine. Your job is already posted, and it's just, this will be added to the posting.
What increase in applicants do you see between posting and brochure? I'm just sort of wondering what's the influence of the brochure?
The brochure will help a candidate see if it fits their needs, whatever it might be.
So they're looking at start date.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay,
It also, for them, you know, the work that we've done and you'll do to describe your district, they might be able to understand that in 3 pages rather than a couple hours on your website or something.
yeah, okay.
Where it will increase, and we've got the draft of some more communications going out each week between now and your posting date, we'll see the pickup after each of those postings or communications. There's a pretty big one going out Monday that will have your listing in it.
Okay.
That will go to a lot of folks.
The thing you have posted right now that you said you posted as soon
Yeah.
as we picked you, is that something that people are actually responding to right away, or is it just kind of out there to make people aware?
It is basically out there on our website and on the system where other superintendent candidates would see when they log in. Our system called Revelis. It's used by 15 states to hire superintendents, so it's not just Ohio.
Okay.
And so I can say that there are candidates already submitting.
Okay, that's what I was curious, so some
Yes.
people are already
Yes, absolutely.
interested in the
Yes,
job?
absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because they can do their own research without the flyer.
Right, correct.
But this does help them.
And that's what I was wondering, okay.
Yes,
good.
absolutely. Yeah, we want to get your information out quickly because we're on a time frame and there's several searches going around Ohio at the same time, so the more you get your information out, the better. It'll also be in that place where out-of-state folks can see it. There's no extra charge, it's just part of our system. All the states that cooperate together, we share theirs, they share ours. So I don't know if you'll get out-of-state candidates, but out-of-state candidates will be able to easily apply and see the information. Okay, so we're good for the brochure. Let's talk then about how long you want to have a recruiting period. The one on the sample that you have in front of you gives you what I consider sufficient time. It's almost 5 weeks. We can go earlier than that, you can go earlier than that, really. And there's no big disadvantage. It may play into account as we move farther down the schedule here. If that's delayed a week, then everything else keeps getting pushed down. And what I've got on your schedule is probably the latest we can run everything if you want to make a decision at your June 20 board meeting. I think it's the 20th.
Actually, we have a board meeting on the 26th or 7th.
26th, okay,
Last
yeah.
Monday,
So,
27th.
Okay, so you could make it before that, but this is assuming that that would be the latest that you would probably want to make a decision. You could make it earlier, but I was trying to get, I was hearing that would, earlier was better.
right.
What's the typical time length of the search if it's not, if you have, there's no time constraints that you would do, if someone says they weren't in a hurry, or
4 to 6 weeks is common. I looked at the others that.
4 to 6 for the application period to
That's
be
it,
open?
actually, yes. Mhm.
Okay,
There's 3 others that we're doing right now, and those are all right at 4 weeks in round numbers. Sometimes they opened on a Monday and ended on a Friday, and so we did that exactly.
is this a 4-week time window here?
That's a 5 week.
5 week? So it's right in the middle.
Yeah, I gave you the most leeway possible on this schedule, so we can shorten it at any place.
So you have the closing date for the applications on May 20th.
Mhm.
And that gives us 5 weeks.
Basically, April 14th to May 20th. It was posted.
I was just gonna ask you, when are you marking the
Yeah.
opening
Yeah.
date?
The date's
So
when
you're
it
saying
goes-
April
And that's when
14th?
all the others were using the same marking point,
Okay.
is when it was made available.
So when we're doing searches at this time of year, I always sort of think about the trickle down effect and, think about, does keeping it open longer, closing it sooner? Because odds are, no, not odds are, there is a chance that we're gonna take a superintendent from another district who is now in a scramble. So, to me, plus, other places are closing and then somebody that applied for that knows they're not gonna get that job and might be more interested in our job, so, for me, the sooner we close the application window, the longer we sort of have to deliberate and have our focus groups, et cetera.
Absolutely.
But I don't wanna close it too early. So I know, I understand what you're doing. You've pushed it out as late,
Yeah.
I'm imagining you would tell us, do not have your window extend beyond May 20th.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. I was just hearing you folks trying to, it's your board meeting, wanting to get a decision in June.
Yeah.
If you don't
Okay,
want
so
it
that's
until
the 20th
July,
is to
we
get
can-
us
yeah,
to
Yeah,
June.
get you to June.
Yeah. I would go a week earlier if you would support that, if you think it wouldn't hurt us. But if you feel like the 20th is our sweet spot, then I could agree to that.
I don't think, in my personal opinion, it would decrease, the risk is really low.
If we closed earlier, if we did a week that
Yeah.
what's 21 minus 7, the 13th.
Because most of the other ones right now are in the 4 to 5. We don't have any going to 6 anyhow, right now.
No.
Okay.
That's because of the time of year too. When some of them started in January, these were a little longer windows.
Right, sure. You can leave it open for 8 weeks if you post January 1st, right?
And until we get done tonight, we can play with this.
Right. Yeah,
So
it-
we can put a date on the calendar now, work through the rest of the dates and see if it works, and we can come back if we have to.
I don't have a set opinion either way, but it's we're only talking a week, but I also don't want to, rush it and cut ourselves short if 1 week is not gonna make a major difference in harming us, if it gives us an opportunity to attract more candidates, and I don't want it to appear to the public that we're trying to rush and just get anybody in here, that we're doing our due diligence to find an appropriate candidate, so that's why I really respectfully look to your opinion, is how much of a difference which way that week would help or hurt us, or, do you know what I mean?
In
Because I don't
May,
wanna
it's
be
gonna
rushed
Yeah,
and,
in May, it'll be very little risk. Those that are interested are really in the hunt right now.
anybody else have an opinion about that?
I was kind of leaning towards that not rushing, if that extra week's not gonna hurt us, I can't.
What it does though is give us an extra week with our candidates. So I would rather give us a week less of posting to give us a week more with our candidates. Give us more opportunity to select, give us more opportunity to meet, give the community more opportunity to meet. It just gives us one entire additional week to play with on that side of this process.
Cause May 13th is really quick.
I totally understand what Beth's saying. I do. But I also don't want to feel pressure to make a decision in June.
Okay.
Like if we have to make the decision at the July board meeting, or if we have to call a special meeting at the beginning of July, that's a week or two earlier than our regular board meeting, I'm okay with doing that as well. But I hear what you're saying, and I agree. The back end of it is important to give everyone time to meet. And because it's happening in June, we're gonna run into some issues with scheduling and trying to get community availability and that kind of thing. So my position is I don't wanna rush the process on either side of it. So I agree with everybody, I don't wanna feel pressured on either end of it. I feel like right now, I know at the end of the school year, everyone's so busy, and in our own district, our superintendent is busy just you know, aside from the fact that, you know, she's trying to exit, she's got her own job that she has to do. And so I don't really want to pressure the other superintendents that are trying to also look for, you know, a move at the end of their school year when they're trying to close out with their communities as well. So,
The opposite to that is though, you want to get them in so they can transition in before the August 1st start date
Yeah.
too.
right, but if you get them in July, that's, I mean, they have
Yeah,
like.
but if you don't offer until, like, if you don't hire them until July, there's no way they're starting August 1st. They have to like quit their old job and get their current board to take their resignation. So, like, it's not just because
But aren't
we-
their contracts up at the end of July anyways?
No,
No, not
They-
necessarily.
no,
They
no.
could have 3-year, 5-year
It
contracts.
depends where they're at within that contract.
Yeah.
Yes, they do expire on July 31st,
Right,
but they could be in the first year of a 5, a second year of a 5, a third,
right.
whatever. But, so they could be in the middle of contract.
Well, they're
even
gonna
though-
be, I mean, regardless if it's a 3 or a 5, they're gonna be in the middle of their contract unless they're at the end of their contracts, which
Mhm.
we're not gonna be able to know.
What,
Right.
and based on what you're saying, and Beth also saying to give us more time, I mean, we have this the last thing, obviously you have the employment, August 1st is the start date, but you have the action to employ June 20th or earlier.
Right now with
Or
the
we can
5
push
weeks.
that out and go June 27th or earlier, if everything goes smooth, it might be June 15th.
But you wouldn't have
You
to
know.
push it out because his timeline here is already a 5-week timeline, am I correct? So
Yeah.
the only thing, it would be pushing it sooner, if I'm not correct, right? We'd be making it a little bit sooner. Tom, what are your thoughts?
I don't think that last week, if you did May 13th instead of 20th, I don't know how many applications you're actually gonna get in that last week. If they haven't applied by the 13th,
They're probably not gonna.
they're not gonna. We could use that week on the end to have the transition smoother. Because, yeah, we do take action June 20th. They have to give their 2 weeks' notice, they have to give transition time. That's less time they get to spend with our current superintendent to transition. I'd rather use that week.
Let me ask this, I'm tending to lean towards the 4-week, but I have a question.
Mhm.
What if we set it, is this a possibility? I don't know, I always look at mediation and what's the middle ground. Could we set it at 4 weeks, and if we see we don't have a lot of applicants, can we extend it then at that time for a week?
Obviously, yes, you can.
Is
I'm
that
not
a
a
reasonable solution?
Reasonable. It's not one I would promote.
Why is that?
It sends signals that may not be what you want to send.
I
Oh, that
agree.
you don't like who we got or something?
I agree with
They
that.
don't like you, so we're gonna extend it
Well, I'm
for
just, I'm not worried
Yeah.
about I don't like you, I'm worried about.
No,
who
I
we
agree.
That would be the
candidates.
effect they
It,
get.
it
so.
kind of
It's
sends
not true.
it sends a
Right.
message that we haven't captured enough people to interview.
Okay,
That,
Um,
it doesn't mean you can't. It's
Yeah.
just- That's what you have to be careful.
okay, Oscar.
I'll agree with Tom on it, like, if somebody really wants it, they're gonna jump on it probably quicker than later.
yeah.
well, you recommended the 5 weeks, so I guess I defer to you because you're the one who does these
I was
for
doing that from
districts all
what
the
I
time.
heard about you folks
Yeah.
in general, so.
Okay. Well,
Let
it's
me-
the middle of the 4 to 6,
Let
though.
me suggest this for tonight for now. Let's leave it at 13 or 20. And the reason I'm saying that is let's see how some of this other falls out because we've got a Memorial Day week that's a troubling week for
Right.
scheduling. And you've got a graduation in there.
Yep.
And you've got some other things that may, if we go a little farther in the schedule, it may answer your question.
Yep.
Right, like is anybody here out of town in May or June?
That's another
I'm
question.
out of town like a lot, like almost both of those months,
April
like,
26th through May 2nd.
but I'm
June
gonna be
15th, 19th.
flexible.
Right.
I will be flexible, have to change things.
I mean, again, we can work through it, but if we're limited in our time for all of those meetings, having an extra week in that window would be better than having a week of applicants. But let's stop this conversation and move on to the rest of
I
the.
think from a consensus, I mean, let me see where we're at. Is anybody really strongly opposed to doing the 4 weeks? At this point?
I defer to the expert. It really, do we
I'm not
know
opposed
better?
to it.
I don't think so.
It'll be fine.
So can we say, is everyone comfortable with just going with the 4 weeks and see how this
I don't
plays
think,
out?
I don't think it really matters one way or the other.
Are
I
we
think
okay?
we just need to
So
agree on
we're
which
just
way
gonna
we're
move
going.
that date to
Let's
May
go with-
13th.
Let's go with May 13 for now.
Okay,
Okay,
let's,
so closing of the applications are moving from the
May
20th to the 13th.
And
okay,
if you wanna give them a couple extra days, we go to Monday.
We can talk about that as we get through the rest of the
14, 15,
schedule.
Okay,
okay.
that's fine with me.
The next item that plays into that schedule is we offer the chance for you, and everybody takes this up on it nearly, is having focus groups with your community before the application process closes, for you to gather information from your community about what they have as qualities that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this generally takes place in the next week or two in that time frame. It's not for the candidate, it's for you to gather information. We facilitate several meetings, and when I say several, depends on how you want to organize it, where the groups come in generally in like groups, community groups, certified staff, classified staff, or all staff, or maybe you have township areas that have uniqueness that you want to separate, or a city council that you want to get feedback from. So these are 3 to 4, maybe not 5, because it gets a long schedule if you try to do it all in one day, is what we try to do is to provide on the hour a different group for about 45, 50 minutes. We'll facilitate that group on asking the kinds of questions that you would help me. I'll give you some drafts, but you would help me out what you want to learn from the community about your search. So it might be questions that are fairly finite, and some might be reported somewhat general. So I'll give you some samples when we get to that point, but it's the questions you want to ask so that you have more information in your process about the search, about the school, about what they're looking for. And so the kinds of groups that you would want to invite and the time frame is a critical issue, because you need to make that where it is very accessible. So you don't want to schedule the community meeting when there's a big community event going on already, things like that. And you'll need to have a facility where you might have, most places that do this, hold it in a room, let's just say this room, just, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. So you gotta find someplace that has that availability.
Do you think a room like this would be sufficient, or an auditorium would be better?
You got an auditorium? Probably lean toward the auditorium.
Dependent on availability.
Right.
It's a busy time of year.
Well, and also if it's a focus group and you want people to have a voice, and we only have 45 minutes per group, it can't be a auditorium-sized
Right,
group.
but he says it's an open invitation.
It's open invitation.
You would open
Well-
an invitation to like all the teachers, or an invitation to the community, and then they come.
Oh, I see,
So,
okay,
yeah, there's,
So you
misunderstood
don't know
that
who's
part.
gonna show up or how many people.
got it,
and I didn't want to put it in right now, but there's also a sample online survey.
I
we
saw
did
that.
yes, I'll
That
do that.
people that can't attend.
Yeah.
This might be examples of questions that we would ask at the forum, but this is for somebody that would not be there.
Okay.
And we can gather these from them too. And then we gather the information and give you all the data raw. We collect it, we don't comment on it, we try to even have the community give us your information, even if it's just you singularly have said this.
And then for those focus groups, just logistics, can all of the board attend and we're just like observers, so it's not a meeting? Like, what are the logistics of the focus groups?
That is your choice.
Okay,
My recommendation would be if you attend to try to not voice.
Yeah.
Try
Be
to listen.
observers.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we could all be there and it wouldn't be a meeting.
You can be.
We could just
You can
stand
be.
back and observe.
In many cases, and I say more than most, the board is not.
Not
oh, no
present,
kidding, okay. All right,
Because
Well, and
people
if
would
you're-
feel more comfortable to say what they wanna say, and that might be a better
that's
strategy.
interesting, yeah.
Not always.
Who oversees it then? Like say there's, you guys do.
Yeah.
And then you just give us the data, so we don't need to be there.
You're gonna
I
get the
like
data.
that.
We'll just read it after you give it to us.
Yes, you will.
I like that, cause that gives
Yeah.
them more comfortability to say what they wanna say.
All right, I'm in.
You guys
So-
always,
One less meeting.
we will not be there.
Yes,
Schedule your vacations for then.
we're totally fine with that, yes.
Yes, we will not be
So
there.
I have that at approximately May 4th, which means that is a Friday, isn't it, I think?
Isn't
It's
that,
a couple days.
That's not a good Friday.
No, it's not a good day, but
probably.
that's
It's actually a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, I'm sorry. I poorly counted. So, in the time frame that you're describing, sometime about that week, or maybe even a little earlier, would not be out of the question if we can find a date that would make sense. I will send you a an email to send out, already drafted for you, to send out to your community on what you're doing. So the date and time, which group it was gonna be, the link to the survey, that kind of thing. If you folks can have your distribution system, get it distributed on the website, so you have regular
So
communication.
let me ask this with our board, so should I meet then with Katie and see what rooms we have available and what dates are good with the school calendar for that?
Yeah,
that
I mean, I
period?
think we can use Katie as a
Yes.
resource.
Yeah.
Paul's
Is that
nodding.
okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll take that assignment to meet with Katie
Sure.
about getting the dates for these focus groups. And so you believe we could do them all one night, like you say, hour, or
If you
whatever?
don't do much more than 4,
Okay,
just for
so do we need
our
to
taxing more than anything,
pick our focus groups now then?
yes,
we can
we'd
get
like to hear
approval on
this
this?
group of the kinds of the groups that you'd want to be
I
involved.
think the community obviously is one,
Just community in general.
community/business leaders. Everybody
People that
agree?
Yeah, I think I would,
taxes.
Huh?
People that pay the taxes.
I might wanna do like a parent-student community and then a non-parent student community. And then faculty, staff, and I don't know who I would have for the fourth.
So your community who are non-parents of kids in school, we
Yeah.
would do parents' community. Then we would do, now the question is, we do all staff together or do we wanna separate them? I think we can do them all together.
I think you can do them all together. The one challenge is how are we going to communicate this to the taxpayers that don't have children in the district?
Well, that's a question for
Yeah.
Katie, maybe newspaper or something,
Yeah, that's, okay, so keep that in mind.
or a mailer, I don't know,
When,
I'll see what her
with time
suggestion is.
frame, I would just, so if we have to publish that, and I think that's a great idea, is
Okay.
to publish it in the newspaper.
Yeah, 'cause
You know,
we could get it in the next
just-
Chagrin Valley Times.
Yeah, publications are on
Daily,
Thursday, but they have to go, they don't go to every
they don't go
resident.
out to, I mean, they
So,
have like,
I don't know, maybe,
The Bainbridge,
I'm sure
Katie
Katie
Bainbridge
has,
goes to everybody.
Yeah, their
no,
timing might not work.
but I'm sure Katie
Those
has
are already in Bainbridge.
some idea of how she reaches, our non-parent
That's a Katie
com-
conversation, yeah.
community, yeah.
I
But
mean, In the Know has a lot of non-parent people on the list, that In the Know
It does?
mailing list. Because that started with the initial purpose of In the Know was non-parents. So
Okay.
like that first push, 15 years ago or whenever we did it was really a community outreach to try and build our non-parent
Okay,
email database. So they're still on there.
okay,
Plus all the parents that were parents when
That
it
were
started, that aren't
parents
parents anymore, so.
Right.
There's a fair number, Katie might know better, but that
Yeah.
is a way to reach
I
part of
think
that
I'm
community.
yeah, and I thank you for telling me that because I did not know that. But I guess I'm concerned about our elderly folks that don't have email or they don't check their email or
Newspaper.
like, how do they receive their information? We can only do so much. So we can publish it where we can publish it. Sometimes putting stuff to the library is a good idea.
Yeah, so put that on your Katie list, like how to reach that.
But I think that's important to have them separate
Right.
because their concerns are totally different
I
than
agree.
our parent group.
So I have community, non-parent, parent community, staff, does that hit our interest groups?
I don't have that 4, I mean, it's
No.
3 or 4 is fine.
I think three's
Yeah.
good, is
Do you have
everyone
any
good with
recommendation for a fourth that we haven't thought of
We've
that
been
would be
doing
real
3 a lot
good?
lately.
Okay.
that? So three, we'll
3 it is.
And some
look at
places
a
have put the
time
parents and
frame in
communities
May.
together and split the staff, and so it's just a philosophical.
I think it's further down the road. I think it would be a good idea to get some input from the students. But maybe at the end of that, like when we've narrowed it down, kind of thing.
Oh, because of the one issue, I agree with that.
Well, I think if we want it, we should get it now though, because I'd like to hear everything at the beginning and then look at all my candidates with my head filled with all that.
Okay,
feedback.
I'm totally fine with that. I would,
All students, 'cause, I mean, you get the little kids, what do
Well,
they
no,
got?
students are involved in so many after-school activities in the spring, I don't know.
maybe we can do
We
the
could do it at
survey.
lunchtime?
But maybe we can just do the
A
survey to
survey
the
for
kids.
Oh, there you go.
And that way we don't have to worry about
Students.
asking them to make their
Now,
be
here's the
available.
question, do we do survey of students of all ages?
No.
No.
Are we talking kindergarten
No,
to high
you
school,
gotta
what
get, you
ages?
No.
gotta stick with the older kids, doesn't matter.
Yeah, because otherwise I think you're gonna probably have a parent filling out,
Sure.
first grader
Should we do high
survey.
schoolers?
Yeah, let's do high school.
I think high school's fair. I mean, we have the principals leadership group that they have input in a lot of things that are going on at the high school and across district in general,
And they can
so.
push that out in email to the students.
I think they
And maybe
can.
they can have
That's a
their
Katie
homeroom
question.
teachers remind
I'll
them
say
to
yes.
submit it.
Yeah,
Something to consider, if you have a already formed group, that group could be the group that we go to.
I think that's kind of
Doesn't mean
bringing some
that
bias though.
yeah, because we always go to like NHS kids,
Right.
or we go to principal leadership. Those are
Yeah.
handpicked kids that,
Yeah,
like,
and you have a spectrum.
no, and I appreciate that, because that is usually like the go-to, but I really want to make sure that we're getting everybody at the high school level who wants to answer the survey questions, give
Right.
them that opportunity.
We could do both though, like if Tom already has a leadership meeting scheduled, maybe we can say as part of your next agenda, can you ask for some feedback and Tom can provide.
Yeah, and I don't know when, because Dominic's on that, but I don't know how often they've been meeting, so I can, if you'd like me to take that task and email Mr. Gabram and ask if he has a meeting coming up to discuss that, since you're gonna talk to Katie.
Let me talk with Katie and get this all started.
Okay.
If we get to that point, I can call you or whatever.
No problem.
Let us
I
try
think
and get
that's
the.
good.
I would just send
Okay.
this basic thing through
So
the.
this sounds
Yeah, I
like
like
a little bit
this.
of defer to your community person, a little bit defer to somebody that's got this calendar.
Well, yes.
And
Katie,
so-
that's
So-
what.
That's who Katie-
Katie does everything.
She's our communications,
Yeah, she is our
community relations director.
Yeah, so that's Katie.
She's the
You may
keeper
hear
of the
from her.
calendar.
That's
That's
fine,
who
no
it
problem at
is.
all.
She's the keeper.
And then, are you thinking that week, or you just can't decide?
We're gonna
You talk to-
try, that it's gonna depend on the school's
That's
calendar,
okay,
what
so-
events are going
So if
on.
it's a bad week, then we can go.
Right, I will communicate that and we're gonna aim for that.
To be honest with you, I think the calendar is, for as far as high school events go, that week is probably the last week that's gonna be free for everybody. Then we start having a lot of award ceremonies and stuff, the second week of May, graduation's the third week of May. So it gets
Yeah.
busy after that,
Yeah, I think, yeah, we'll be able to get it in early, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm seeing.
especially if it's just one night,
Right,
You
one
know.
night.
yeah.
Yeah, your bad, well, at least from what I looked at, your bad week is the week of May 23rd.
The week before that, we've also got some award ceremonies,
Okay.
I think, at the middle school level, should be
So-
that week or the week after.
So earlier in May probably is gonna be better anyhow.
I think so,
Yes.
and I don't have everybody's calendars, because some of that stuff's not on our district calendar yet.
And then just work with me on my calendar and our staff. Most days are available, but not every. And we, depending on how many you put together, we may send two instead of one to
Okay.
a person, which is no problem, just we just need to make it work. We have 4 full-time searchers.
Okay.
So they can be
Plus
running
administrative.
2 groups at one time?
Well, that's, when we look at the schedule, that's not an impossibility.
Okay, that's a good idea.
it's a good option.
Instead of
We did
being
that
here for
last
4
year,
hours,
two
you're for
nights ago.
2. Yeah, or,
So
yeah.
Well, that'll
Then you're
depend
getting
on
more-
space too,
then you need
Yeah.
more space, that's all.
space then,
So let's work through what
Let me
you wanna
put
do
the-
and then we can.
Okay.
but that's a possibility.
Yes, it's definitely a possibility.
You know, Timmons has the cafeteria and their gymnasium that sometimes they use for large groups too.
And there might be less going on there than at the high
Right.
school and other places.
Yeah.
That's an idea. Okay,
For
yeah, figure it out.
facilities, just FYI,
Yeah.
a place that has walls for post, or chart paper, or whiteboard walls,
Oh.
or something where we can write on, we'll bring you whatever we need, but
Uh-huh,
if it doesn't have, it's all windows, it's gonna be hard.
okay.
Or if it doesn't have any walls, it's gonna be
This,
harder.
talk to Katie, but this might actually be the best room for that kind of milling around.
That
And its
helps.
capacities, at least 100 people.
Because we
Yeah,
facilitate it, we write it, but we like people to look at it and then,
Yeah, because I was thinking the auditorium just for size, but that wouldn't
Won't be able to see
accommodate,
that.
you can't write on anything there.
and we just do those different. Then we'll probably use a
Easel?
projector and be typing it rather than writing it.
Okay,
So it's not impossible, it's just,
Okay.
I need to know what you're doing so I
Okay.
can
right,
prepare.
Okay,
okay.
I mean, just based on my being in groups where you're walking around and writing on the walls, that's pretty effective. And your people that come and think, well, I really don't have any input, but I just kind of want to come.
Mhm.
When they're walking and looking, boy, that gets the wheels turning. So
This is a great room for that, as long as we don't get like, 200 members of the community
Well,
that want
that's
to,
what I'm saying.
at one
We
time.
do that sometimes and we don't do that sometimes.
Okay,
One, it depends on the openness of the group.
yeah.
Try to get them going with good questions to start with.
Mhm.
And if we can keep it as a one discussion, we try to. But if it's a larger group, then we need to divide it up.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, let's work through the process, and even the night of, we can do some of that.
Sure. And I would think
We
a
had
lot
twice
of,
as many people the other night as we expected.
I would think a lot of people would want to just come and listen too. Maybe not,
Yep, we
if they
had
don't
that too.
really want to offer anything, but just be able to be part of the conversation, hear what's, being talked about and stuff, so.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right, good. We're moving on here. Great.
Good.
So if we're going to close on May 13,
Mhm.
the next step then is we'll get you the login the day after.
The 14th?
It'll be the 14th.
Oh, really? Saturday the 14th?
We'll get you that, as soon as it closes at midnight, yours will come on.
Okay.
So if we end up keeping the 13th to Friday, if we don't extend it to the weekend or anything.
Friday the 13th?
It's okay. It's good luck.
My lucky man
It'll be-
13.
It's good luck.
Okay. Okay.
But again, we'll talk through the rest of the schedule here in just a minute. That, somebody mentioned rolling it to Monday. It might not be a bad option, not that that's a big deal, but if you are not available to be looking at them anyhow over that weekend, let's just
Right.
leave it open.
That's what I was saying, it gives
Yeah.
you're in between that 4 and 5 weeks.
Yeah,
Not doing
yeah.
Monday,
Okay.
you're 4.5 weeks.
There you go.
So,
The bigger question is when do you want to have your screening meeting as a board? And this will be a special meeting, or
Mhm.
it's at one of your meetings, where you will look at all the candidates and narrow it down. And so if you have, when you close on the 20th, I was gonna have it about the 26th.
So that's a meeting, once we've all read through
Everything.
Mhm.
every applicant,
Yep.
Come talk
then
about
we
it.
come to our meeting and we discuss.
Yep.
Yes.
And we start to make a short list.
Let's start with
Right.
the 26th. How does people's calendars look?
For which day?
May
Which,
26th.
Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Well, I'd like to scooch that. I mean, if we've moved our whole timeline
Yeah, we gotta
back,
move everything back.
let's move that back.
Oh, that's right. So then that would go to the 19th then, right?
Mhm.
May 19th.
so far it looks good.
I think I'm okay.
And we're talking about evening, correct?
Yeah, before you get to that one, I have a conflict that night.
Okay.
19th?
Okay.
Sorry. But let's see if I can send somebody else to one of my events, if that's the only night that works for you.
So do we want to look sooner or later when you say that's a conflict? What works for
It's
you?
just that night.
What about the 18th?
I mean, the 18th is fine.
I'm
Or
fine for the
if we
18th.
move back a week, but if he, like you just mentioned, possibly that Monday,
That's good.
I would say I'd be in between
Yeah,
that
that's too fast.
I would be between those two dates, so instead of going backwards
Yeah.
and spreading it quicker, I would go like the 20th or the 23rd, something like that.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion,
20th
because if we
Friday?
keep going
I can't-
backwards, we're
I
gonna
can't
just
do the
scrunch
20th.
I
our
can't either.
timeline getting scrunched that much more.
I have conflicts on the 20th.
Do you guys do weekends or no? You're Monday
can.
through Friday.
That's your call.
Any of those work for me. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
What about Saturday the 21st?
I can't do it during the day.
Okay. What about Monday the 23rd?
Good for me.
I can do it then. I mean, that's the night before graduation. Do we have
That's
anything to
senior
do?
projects, I was gonna go over to, but we don't, I mean, we can see.
Oh, no, I have to
Yeah.
do that. I have to go to that.
Your son's in that?
Yeah.
Well,
So what time is it?
Yeah, that
I don't
starts at
know.
6. I have it starts at 6.
Are there awards after? Because I used to do the projects and then senior awards.
I didn't put the senior awards on my calendar and the senior
Oh,
projects.
shoot. You know what? Does
Why don't we
anybody?
just stick with our 13th?
No, we're talking
And
about this day here.
I know, but you
Screening
stick to the
report.
13th and then go to the 18th.
The
Yeah, we could
18th?
do that. Stick with the 13th and we meet the 18th.
Yeah.
Because moving that to Monday is just pushing us out more than we
Wait, say
wanna go.
that again, Tom?
Move that application, keep that application deadline on the Friday.
The 13th.
Yeah.
We'll look over the stuff on the weekend.
Right, keep the
Friday
clo-
the 13th?
keep the closing on the 13th, screening
board
login
meeting.
sent to the board on the 14th,
14th.
Saturday, and then we meet Wednesday, the 18th.
Yeah.
I'm
To go over
assuming
it.
evening meeting. You don't
18th
have to
evening
do
is-
it.
I'm sorry.
I'm assuming evening meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up to you.
Is everyone available on the 18th of May? Dennis?
Let me look at that again.
Jen, are you? What, he
I
looks?
think so. I don't have all of the award ceremonies in my calendar right now.
so far.
So, does anybody have that?
Has a Kenston gallery.
You guys feel better
Oh,
on the
that little
19th?
slide thing?
I already know I can move my 19th.
Does anybody have that
Look,
slide
rest my
thing
staff's
that we
calendar.
got at the last board meeting with all the awards on it?
Who had the conflict on the 19th? Did you go back to
I
that?
did,
He did.
but I just fixed
You
mine.
change it?
Yes, I did.
So is everyone available on the 19th?
19th's good.
I think so.
You want me to go, you want me to,
Let's do the
Dennis
19th.
text me a picture of that so we have that
Yes.
date?
Yes,
Well, we'll
because
call him.
there's like so many of those awards
Unless we hear
things.
otherwise, we're gonna say the 19th then. for
Because I
screening.
know those start on May
Don't call them
13th 's the
here,
first
send them a
one.
text.
I mean, we can
You're
just
in a
say
meeting.
18 or 19 based on schedule so that we can kind of get a date penciled in.
Yeah, so
18,
hopefully,
19, okay?
18 or 19 based on like high school
yeah,
awards
see if you can
stuff.
send us a picture of that.
Okay. That works
If
good.
you can't get a hold of him, you can call Katie McGrath or text Katie McGrath.
I'll text Sam, because Sam knows, Sam
Just
just
log
had it.
into the high school calendar.
It's not on, well, you know what, maybe it is on that calendar by now, because it's not on the paper one.
Right, it should be on the
All right,
online calendar.
let me try to do that.
The 18th and 19th, any of the senior awards.
And really, the only one that's affected is me, because I'm the only one that has a senior, so I apologize, but
Isn't Sam a senior?
No, she's a junior.
Whole district calendar somewhere on your website.
no, it would be on our high school
High
website.
school? Okay, I'm good
Yeah,
I think you
Calendar,
could
there
go
we
to the district calendar and filter by school, but
All right, I got the high school calendar. What date we looking at?
May 18th or 19th?
18 or 19 in the evening.
18th shows nothing at the high school.
okay.
19th shows 7 p.m. KHS, 9th, 10th, 11th grade. I gotta click on to see the rest of it.
Awards, that would be Sam.
Would that be awards possibly? Yes,
19th.
awards.
On the 19th.
9th,
awards.
10th, 11th grade awards.
So that would affect you, Dennis, if you wanted to go to that.
And Sophia, but there's no guarantee they're gonna get
No,
invited to that.
No.
Yeah, but let's
Yeah, the
block it,
18
so let's do
18 is
18.
blank.
Let's
So
do
there's nothing on
18.
18.
18
Let's
is
do
blank.
18.
Okay,
So you guys can go to awards if you need to.
And that
Okay.
avoids the senior project thing, right?
Correct.
yeah,
So that would need to be a special meeting.
thank you.
So this is the screening report meeting?
Yeah, this is where we
Yes.
review all the
Um,
applicants, applications we get.
So, couple hours.
So,
Oh, wait, what time did you want to start? That's
Right
another
here.
question.
the screening report
What
meeting,
time would we like
this
to
is
start?
gonna
Earlier is
be
better,
on
6.
5?
the 18th, so
Five
that
too early?
means over the weekend
will
you
we
have
do
to
it by
read all
Hold
that.
on, let me just double check.
On the
This would be an
18th, can
open
everyone get there by
meeting.
5?
Oh, no, actually, it's executive. You're talking about people.
Oh, you're talking about.
I was gonna ask you about
Sorry.
that, like I
Yeah.
was.
That's right.
Okay, so that is executive.
I thought it was executive too, I was,
Executive.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
just so you know, yeah, 13th, 19th, senior project 23rd. Senior awards right after that, the 23rd.
oh,
So the 18th is
The
about
18th
the
sounds
only
like
thing
it's a
that.
better way.
So on the
18th.
18th, can you start at 5, Dennis?
Yeah, I'll check with my boss just to make sure.
Okay. Jen, you can start at 5?
I can start earlier if,
Five
I
would be
mean,
good, Beth?
5's fine.
Yeah, I can actually do a little earlier as well.
Okay, how early?
Probably 4 is about the soonest I could get
4.
here.
Can everyone start at 4, Tom?
Sounds good to
Dennis?
me. Yeah.
I can start at 4.
Okay, 4. Is that work for you, Mr. Wyzak?
4 is 4 a.m. PM.
Are you crazy?
4
PM.
And we can
On the
discuss
18th.
this later. It doesn't need to be discussed right now, but we can have food available for you,
I was
obviously.
gonna ask you about that.
I can whip up,
Nancy,
I can whip
I'll
up
be
something.
available.
What do you like, Dennis? Tell me what you want me to make.
Italian.
Donuts.
Yeah.
In my stomach, there's not much I don't like.
I need to know
Thanks,
where
Matt.
to go here locally one night when I'm here too.
Oh, well,
Oh.
Sorry.
There's plenty
Go
of
to
good
two
restaurants.
spectrums of the district. and there's- Yeah.
there's lots of places.
Lots of good restaurants here.
We
Okay,
have a plethora of them, and they're all good.
Okay.
now, we finished that evening with some candidates in mind. I will need some time to contact them and get them scheduled, but we'll need to at least try to put some possible dates on the calendar now so you can hold them for in-person interviews.
Okay.
And typically, when you're hiring somebody, they kind of go to your schedule, but because
Right.
you're pulling people that are probably employed and it's the end of the school year, you gotta kind of give them a little bit of leeway,
Your schedule's
correct?
gonna be the more, because that next week, you've already told me is rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So we're gonna have to do it in the evening, because they'll work during the day.
so if
And you
you're-
have to allow travel time if they don't
Yeah.
live around
even
here.
if you can do it that week of the 23rd looks,
Bill, does people typically do those during the week or weekends?
no weeks, during the week, and
Okay.
evening.
So that would,
If you have more than 2 or 3, we'll do it over 2 nights, so you don't have to be here for 5 hours.
so
That could be
are we talking
25th
like the
or 26th.
25th?
I've actually done that before.
25th or 26th.
So here's the thing, you don't even really have to change that
We
date.
have graduation on
You
Tuesday.
have it or earlier, June
Auburn
2nd, 3rd, or earlier.
Yeah,
And do you really need to even change that date? It's or earlier, so
Well,
we can,
we need to post the date so you can get on your calendar, and you eventually need to announce it. And third, we like to have the candidates to know when to expect to have to do
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
So sometimes we put the week of, but if you already know that it's going to be a particular days, I'll just post the days, and they won't know which day. But if the 25th, 26th, I see final exams is the only thing I see on the high school. On the 26th, I saw nothing on the high school, 26th.
25th is Auburn graduation. Is that usually during the day? I remember when we went.
There's a
I
middle
think
school
it
awards
is.
night on the 25th.
I'm supposed to be at Auburn's graduation on the 25th.
I think that's usually in the day, is it not that?
Auburn
Yeah,
day.
yes, it's in the day.
Oh,
It's
okay.
during the day.
I haven't gotten details yet, but if you're telling me it's during the day,
It's
then
during-
that's,
When I went to
that
Cass, it's
works.
during the day.
Okay.
So May 25, 26 is on the table at least.
We're looking at it. Tom?
Yeah, that's the only thing that week, because we have graduation the 24th, and Friday, Memorial Day weekend, you don't want to do it on a Friday
Yeah.
before we go on, so.
How
whatever,
early in the evening can we
25,
start?
26.
Well, you can start a little earlier, and what I would do is schedule the farthest candidate later.
Okay.
Whatever
So what's
they are.
everyone's availability on
on the
timeline?
24th,
25th
25th,
and 26th,
26th.
we're reserving for
or
interviews.
25th.
How soon can we be here? 4 o'clock? 5?
It might be hard to get any candidate even close by 4.
Okay, so you want to say 6?
Oh, 5, I think we
5? 5 will be our early starting time?
And this is another one we can, once we get finished with the 18th, I
We
make
know
the
who they
calls
are.
the next couple of days. If we have to tweak it a little, let's say you have 6 candidates, but it's going to be 4 and 2 instead of 3 and 3, but because of the way that schedule worked out or whatever.
What do you typically give them per candidate? What are you thinking, 30, 45 minutes?
An hour and then 50 minutes with them or something. And then you'll need
10
an
minute
hour
talk
to-
time afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll need, on the second night, you'll need an hour or so for deliberations.
So the first night is, we do our interviews,
You do interviews both nights.
and that's, oh, both nights, and then we spend some time afterwards.
And this is assuming you have more than 3 candidates. If we end up with just 3 in the first round, which is really unusual, 3 in the second
I'm
round
forgetting
is
this is the
unusual.
first round.
In the first round, 3 is kind of unusual.
Mhm.
6 is 4, 5, or 6 is more common.
So we need to reserve the 25th
Yep.
and 26th.
And that would be
5 p.m.
special meetings as well.
Special meeting, yep.
Yeah,
And that
special
can
meeting.
be in
5 p.m.
executive,
Mhm.
yeah.
And we need to reserve the room for that. So
Okay,
Paul,
yeah.
let me ask you,
Wednesday and
Yes.
Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
so Paul, so for our screening meeting on May 18th at 4 p.m., you will do the meeting notice for that, for a special meeting?
Yes,
And then you'll do the meeting notice for this first round of interviews
Once-
for
yeah,
the 25th
once,
and
once
26th?
that's,
Yeah.
once that's firmed up, yes, I will.
You need your
Okay.
24 or 48 hour
Yeah.
notice.
Okay.
So am I adding this to my calendar for the
Yes.
25th and 26th?
And that's Wednesday, Thursday, correct?
Yes.
And you have this available, Mr.
Mhm.
White?
Yep. I pulled up everybody else's calendar. We adjust stuff around all the time. We all train the same. So right now, I will personally be at all of them.
Perfect.
The next step is you have narrowed it to some small number. There needs to be a period of time in which you will do the reference checking. This is not something that we recommend we do at all. You need to be talking to the references. We'll probably provide you 7, 8, 10 references per candidate. I'll divide it up for you in just some manner so that everybody calls one person, the person gets called once, and you get a call of different candidates, and you get a call of different types of people. We'll have the script for you to ask the questions, so you can take your notes, and then you can come back and share as a group. I talked to these 3 people, each of you may talk to 3 or 4 people, give or take.
Well, that's my question. Where do we then share? Would it be prior, so we do the reference checking. Do we have to call another special meeting? Or where are we
No.
gonna share and
You-
talk
no,
about
You're
that?
gonna bring them in and already talk to them. You won't, the reference information you will share is after you have come in and interviewed them again.
So we'll share that after our
The
second
only thing
round of
would be
interviews.
is if, I've never seen this happen, but you just find something that just is so
Okay,
unacceptable that you don't even want to talk to them.
so that'll be during our second round of interviews, we share that.
So let's say we interview 4 people in round 1, we narrow it down to 2.
Mhm.
We do references on those 2.
And
Only
then
those
we'll
two.
bring that to our
We
second round.
bring
interview.
Yeah.
those 2 people back for their second
Yeah.
round, and after they're gone and we're
Yeah.
talking, that's when we share.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
So when, if
And they'll
we,
also do that achiever assessment.
You'll do
Great.
that?
You would do that.
You do that, okay. And
But
then
we
you
only
would
do it to
bring
your
that,
finals.
and then you would bring that to our second round
Yes,
interviews.
uh-huh.
We'd have that data for that,
Yes,
correct?
we will.
So what is our date for, so is everyone, are we moving up our reference checking from
Yes.
June 6th to 10th to what?
Well, I'm going to suggest, since like you said, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend doesn't make a lot of sense, calling people. But you probably won't be able to start calling people till the 31st.
Right,
31st through the 3rd.
Yeah.
so 31st through the June 3rd, everyone will have to make their calls that they're assigned for reference checking. Is that gonna be a problem for anybody?
No.
Okay,
It could be done remotely, obviously, if
Yep.
we're in town, but all be telephone.
You have to read them their rights first.
Maybe we should just let you do all the interviewing with the background checks. You'll know what to ask.
so, and
That's
then if we're gonna have the candidates come and like present to, like our 2 finalists or whatever, do we do that on the same day of the second round of interviews?
Yes.
Okay, so they'll show up at 4, or the first candidate shows up at 4, meets with the
Yep.
teachers, meets
Yep.
with the community at 5, meets with us at 6,
Yep,
and the
that
second
would be
one's
my
rotating
recommendation,
through
yep.
that.
So that would
we
be
do
the
that
week
all on
of,
the same night.
well, with the exception, for some reason, you brought maybe 4 to the finals, which I wouldn't recommend, but if you brought 2 or 3, you can do it in one night.
So what time would you start then?
Well, each group, it's gonna take 3 hours with 3 people.
Uh-huh. So wait, so they would meet with the focus groups, I mean, not the community groups or whatever first, or us?
You can do it 2 different ways. What we did just recently is everybody starts at the same time and just keeps moving. So it's done in 3 hours.
So everybody's doing a group at a time?
Everybody's doing a group at a time. And we have
Right.
facilitators that move the people
Mhm.
and facilitate the room.
Now, how do we get a feedback, if we're doing our interviews, how do we get a feedback of what's going on in those other rooms?
That's actually pretty easy to explain. I have a draft email for you also to send out to the groups to ask them to send you questions.
Okay.
And then as a group informally, we'll work together, narrow that question list down. And we'll have a facilitator there, and I do this frequently myself, the room will be, the community, let's say. I bring the first candidate in, I explain to the group that they have evaluation sheets in front of them that they can use to write information on, and those evaluation sheets ask the person to review what did the person express about leadership or vision or finances. We'll make sure you get the ones you like, but we have some pretty good ones in there.
Uh-huh.
And then I will ask the questions of each candidate the same way to each one of them.
Okay,
The community will not be asking questions of the candidate directly at all. And then that will be the same process in these other groups, but just with different questions. The teachers may have submitted different questions, or the parent group may have submitted different questions. And so one of our facilitators will ask those questions to that group, and then there's those forms. There'll be it's a 2-page form for each person, front and back, that the audience will fill out as they've heard the person answer those questions for about 45 minutes or 30 minutes. We'll talk about timeline when we get closer. It's going to depend on how many people we have.
and that's an open invite too, correct?
It's an open invite. And we'll need a place where we can do something like that.
Okay,
Now, that just makes it faster and easier if you do them all at the same time. It's not impossible to round robin them.
Just so you know, Nasa, this building has a couple other conference
that's
rooms.
classrooms.
They're not
They
very
work well.
big though.
Yeah, but they're double, they open up, so, cause I went to the original one that I've always gone to conferences, is down at the end down there, that's
Yeah.
like this size. And then there's another one, and then you have this one, and if I'm not mistaken, I think there's another one.
But so then you take those forms and then will you give those forms back to the board
We
then?
give this to you that night, right there. Yes.
Is there an ability for people to rank? Like, cause they'll sit through, if there's 2 or if there's 3, they'll sit through them. Is there like like at the bottom, like yes, we support this candidate, or no, we wouldn't, like,
No, but there's a place for them to write anything else they would like.
okay.
And they don't have to sit through all of it. They may not.
But
sit
we're gonna
through
have to
it.
look through all that
We would want
after,
them to.
I would want them to, but if they didn't, that would be
You almost
kinda
want
hard.
to copy.
you would want them to what?
Sit through all the candidates. What if they get up and they only saw one of them, they get up and they don't have time to see it?
Yeah, no, I mean, ideally, they'd sit through
Right.
both or three or whatever.
Depending on the timeline and how many people we have, whether or not you will do that night or come back.
Okay, because I would like,
This week is coming back.
yeah,
It took them 3 hours to go through it all.
right.
And then, and to be honest, some of the folks took extra time to write their comments.
Mm-hmm,
We were 20 minutes over at the end for people to finish writing their comments.
mm-hmm.
And it's now 9 o'clock.
Right, and they want
Right.
to have time to review.
Yeah.
I would want to have
So-
time to
so
go
we-
through
We
everything.
left the forms with the board when we left the
Okay.
meeting.
So you
Okay,
could actually make copies of them all, and everybody gets their own copies, and you could kind of,
You could.
Well,
I would
it
just
depends
get
upon
back
how many
together.
forms there are.
That night there was probably
here's your binder of all your comments.
50 forms per candidate.
so
Between all the
150,
groups.
how long does it take to go through 150 forms if there's three of them? It's not that big of a deal.
Well, I just know, like, when I did scholarship interviews last year and we interviewed 80 students,
Mhm.
and there were only 3 of us interviewing all of them, and we interviewed them over 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We sat on it over a weekend, and then we came back the following week, and that we had all of our materials with us so that we can go through each person
Mhm.
and talk about it, so that we didn't feel rushed or
Right.
having to make a decision like that night. And I feel like we're all gonna wanna have some time to like digest everything and process what we've heard.
Then
I
I would
guess.
schedule 2 nights. I would schedule a night that you will actually do the work, the candidates and the community groups, and schedule another night,
To discuss everything.
not necessarily the next night, but another
Okay,
night.
so just so I'm clear, we're in this room interviewing one person, and then the other person is doing their round robin through the groups.
Everybody
how-
will be in a group
And then
at
we
a time.
switch?
It depends on how many groups you have and how many candidates you have. The other
Okay,
night, we had 2 candidates and 3 groups,
okay.
which meant every group had a blank slot.
Mm-hmm,
And so the board took the blank slots on both ends to make it easier, so
Mhm.
the community came in and out pretty quick.
Oh, that's.
right,
So if we have 3 candidates, it's simple, if you have 3 groups.
okay,
And that's different than these focus groups that you have earlier, soliciting information. These groups will be based on who you want to get feedback specifically on the candidates themselves.
oh, so that
It'd be
second,
the same groups.
it's not open to everybody?
Yeah,
It is.
Mm.
It's a
But
open
the-
invite.
Then how is
but
it
it doesn't have to
different?
be the same groups that you did
Oh,
the
I
focus
see what
groups.
you're saying.
It could be,
Right,
Yeah.
it's still an open invite, but
Yeah.
if person A came to focus group 1 to
Yeah.
give us feedback on the type of person they
Mhm.
wanted,
Mhm.
like person B could come
Right.
to the one to actually listen to the candidate and give feedback, doesn't have to be the
Gotcha.
same people.
Right.
Okay, but it's not an open, it's not like a town hall where they're
No.
allowed to ask
No,
questions.
no.
And they have to submit their questions ahead of time?
Yeah, and we review those then.
Okay,
That's one method. Another method is that you want the candidates to present on a specific topic to each group, and you give them the topic and they do a presentation rather than a
okay,
Q&A.
gotcha.
I think I prefer the Q&A.
I prefer the Q&A.
The recent Q&As I've been through were fabulous.
Can't we do it half and half? Can't we say we want you to present on this particular thing and then we'll do some
You have
Q&A?
less Q&As.
Like, I know, we would,
Presentation you could prepare
Hey, John,
for
here's something though, they're gonna present to us. As
They are.
part of their interview process,
They're
they're gonna
presenting
present
to
to us, so if that's
Okay.
if
Yes,
that's an
they do.
aspect, you're gonna get to see that.
okay,
Yeah.
So that might make the Q&A with the groups more.
okay,
This is
that makes
another one.
sense.
The date is more critical tonight than the process.
Okay, so let's pick a date.
Okay.
Because when we get closer and we know that there's only 2 or we know that there's 3,
We can be
we'll
flexible.
flex the
Okay.
process.
So what I'm hearing though is that we wanna pencil in 2 dates, and if we
Yes.
don't need one, we can get rid of the
That's
second one if we don't have
We're
as
in
many.
June.
as we
We're
want.
talking about
And you're in
second
June.
rounds, right?
We're
Okay.
talking, yeah, the week of June 6th then, if we're moving up a week, correct?
Wacky day.
June 6th.
And I've got every day, so.
So wait, we're looking at the week of June 6th.
Right. How does the 6th and 7th look for people?
It's good to me.
Honestly, have nothing scheduled in June, so,
Tom, is that 6th and 7th?
or if I do, I don't know about it yet.
June
Oh.
6th and 7th.
Yeah, I might be on jury duty, but
Oh,
that doesn't,
That's
How-
during the day.
How
though.
how
Yeah,
fun
that's
for
right
you.
what?
How fun for you.
I I've been
Until
trying
we get to our
jury
48
duty. I
hours
never-
before, you can make a change.
Right.
Okay,
Not
so
that you want to,
pencil
but-
June 6th and 7th, everyone.
Okay.
And we're gonna say 4 PM? Or 6 PM, what?
Well, if she's gonna be on jury duty, I would not make it a 4.
Candidates have to come,
Yeah,
5
and
PM.
and the community people have to get off from work, so
and if Beth gets
potentially the
on
earliest
jury
would be
duty,
5.
she's not gonna be here by 4 o'clock.
Right,
I'd be here by 5, right?
yeah,
I
Is it
mean, it
geography,
depends on what,
right?
it depends on what case you're assigned to.
They rarely.
Sometimes they hold you
I
a
get
little
the
later.
letters, I've never had to do it.
Yeah, I
Now that
mean-
I've said that, I
Don't
won't have to do
lie.
it.
Technically,
One of us got seated, we had to try.
technically court does not close until 4:30. So I just would be, and if you're going to Chardon, that's, a little bit of a drive. So I just would say,
Hey, jury duty would be awesome, get a chance to put some dirtbag in jail.
unless you get a civil case.
Be nice,
Yeah.
appropriate language, please.
If
So
you,
let's do 5.
I would
and I'll-
say-
5 o'clock, 6th
That's
and
another
7th of June,
Still
okay?
adjust.
I would say like 5 to 5:30, you should be okay if you get actually seated.
Okay,
So June
So
6th
6th
would
and
be
7th.
second round interview. June 7th would actually be your deliberation, that next
Correct.
line item.
Correct, okay, we'll
Okay.
put that there.
So 6 and 7,
June 7th.
2 special board meetings again.
Yeah.
second
take
interviews.
that.
I got it all on my calendar, I just need those last 2 dates.
You
Okay,
have
I'll write 'em in
currently
here and I'll
have a
send you a
special board
picture
meeting
of it all.
scheduled on the 9th, it looks
Just,
like.
yeah.
Second
Right.
interviews.
You keep that.
Did we say 5 or 5:30 for
No.
this?
No, you don't, sorry.
I'll just put it in as 5.
20, yeah, so 20.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Are you guest appearing? Do you have a guest appearance?
No.
We are near the end. so
Yeah,
we're
she's
good.
gonna text me the last 2 dates.
Yep, that's the thing, we're in good
And if
shape.
there's anything else we discuss,
There's
I'll give you
a
a call.
trivial.
Because we've jumped through a lot of this as we were doing this.
Perfect.
Have fun.
Enjoy.
Okay, 6 and 7 second interviews.
No, 6th.
Sixth and 7th.
No, 6th is the second interviews, and
Yeah.
7th is deliberation.
Oh, I just put it both.
Well, yeah.
I blocked them
Let
both
me,
out.
let me just ask you process, because this is a little different than I've done before. Like, I feel like in the past, after I finished that second interview, I had everything that I needed to make a decision. But what I'm hearing with this process, like, I'm gonna have my opportunity to do a second interview, but I'm also on that same date gonna be getting the community data. So then I'm not in a position to make a decision that day. So that's why
Right.
there's deliberation of a couple days. We think about it, we talk about it, and then we're gonna make an offer a day 2, 3 post second interview, correct?
This is giving you only 24 hours in this sample right now on the table. You would have the interviews on the 6th and get back together to do your final deliberations and decision on the 7th.
On the 7th, okay, great.
If you want more time.
No, I don't want more time. I think that's fabulous. I needed to get that process in my head. So
Because
second round,
we'll get all those forms and everything, so that we can take the night, digest this, work over, and then we'll come
Come
back
back
the next day and
night,
talk
make
about
a
all that
decision.
and make a decision.
Because you're doing that step, it takes
Right.
a little more time. Not
Right.
every board does that step, so if you were just interviewing them yourselves, you could probably decide that night.
Bring your pay down about a penny an hour.
right. But by adding the community, and the teachers, which I think we should,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I think
I'm
we,
okay with that.
I don't
timeline.
think we-
I think
yeah.
we need to have them for focus, we need to have
Yeah.
our community input. I mean, I think, maybe the word is more of our customers, all of them, and from our teachers, our community, our parents, we wanna have all that input from, and afford everyone that opportunity to give it. Via the focus groups at the beginning, tell us what attributes and what qualities and traits they're looking for, and then at the end to be able to assess the candidates that we've narrowed it down to.
You can make the official action that night, technically, if you want to.
What do you
You
mean?
just, on the 7th, you would come out of the executive session and make a motion to make an offer. Or you can come back.
I would prefer to come back to a meeting where we announce it to the public, so the
Well,
public will
you're
know.
gonna- there's gonna be some time in between here where you're gonna wanna let the candidates know.
Oh,
And you're gonna make them an offer, they might not accept, so you
Right.
don't necessarily wanna do that in a meeting, say, hey, I'm offering you a job, and they go,
If I can add here, if you
Yeah.
remember, the second round, I think it was second round, I only did 2. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys
the
did a
second.
third. But the second round,
no, it was only two.
on my way home,
Yeah.
you guys called me on a conference. I was just pulling down my street.
Uh-huh.
And you as a board made the offer to me.
Right.
We talked for 2 or 3 minutes
then
and then we agreed that, yes, that was it. Then you scheduled a special meeting to hire me and it was like a Thursday morning or something. I mean, so that's how it does happen.
24
But
hours.
to the point of, you can be prepared.
Mhm.
And my guess is what you'll probably see, guys, is you're gonna see a cream rise to the top. And to Beth's point, you're probably gonna see a clear distinction of what you're looking for.
That's the
All these
hope.
folks are usually good,
That's the hope,
but
is
you're
that,
probably gonna see like,
yeah,
that's what we're looking for.
that's
And
the
so,
hope, is that
yeah.
it is, you know,
Yeah, you're not hoping for a horse race.
it's not, yeah, I
Really
mean,
not
it would
hoping
be, I mean, if it is, it is,
It's
you know, then
If
we'll
it
have
is, that
to.
means you got two good people to pick.
Right,
Correct.
exactly.
Right.
And that's why I kind of like, I think some of that back end timeline has to just, we have to kind of see how it goes. Because you're right, if after second interviews and, you know, we read everything, we're like, yeah, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Then great, then we're all on the same page. But I don't want to, you know, force us to be on the same page
Sure.
without giving us time to, you know, be able to work through some
Agreed.
things. Because I may have an issue and then, you know, Beth or Tom may say like, well, this is like, look at it this way, or NASA says you're not looking at it the right way. And so it's good to have those kind of conversations. Because sometimes, you know, you just need a different perspective on how you see things. So I like to have that conversation.
Right, the way I look at it is, let's schedule the time that we might need.
Yeah,
But if we don't need it, and we
Yeah.
all come back after the second interview and we're looking at each other going,
Yep.
candidate A is the way to go.
I
like,
agree.
We don't need to prolong it.
yep,
Right.
I agree.
That's
Yep,
why I like how Bill's got everything or earlier.
okay, good.
Okay, so the board takes official action to employ, what's the date for that gonna be?
June 27th is the June board meeting, but if we want to have a special
You could
meeting,
schedule a special, sure.
yeah, we would schedule a special. So that's where the or earlier definitely comes into place.
So if we deliberate on the 7th, like, let's assume we all make a decision, we can, well, I mean, if we're still, if like, if we meet at 5:30 to deliberate and discuss, and it's 8 o'clock at night, do you make the phone call then, or do you wait till the next morning?
Make it then.
You call,
Good then.
you call.
If they want the job, they want the phone call.
You got that
Yeah.
fish on the line, you reel them in.
Okay.
They're
They're
not
chomping.
letting their cell phone out of their
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, ring.
I drove
Gotcha.
home breathing rather
And this
heavily.
is not,
Okay,
this number in front of you is not the
That was a
calendar
happy
that the
night.
candidates see or anything.
right, sure. So,
How soon after do we have to vote then
As soon as possible.
as a board, at a board meeting?
so we could do.
Official action for him to.
Yes,
Yes.
he is not gonna, he or she is not gonna resign until
Right.
we have taken official action.
So we
Right.
could,
You
we
can get a
could
verbal that night.
potentially have a special meeting the next morning
You
on,
can't, you have to
You
give
need
public
to-
notice.
oh, that's right,
We would need-
24.
yeah, we would need one
Is it
day.
24, 40?
It's 24 for media, 48 for you,
us.
but you guys aren't,
So
you're all aware of
we
what's
could do
happening.
it on the 9th.
Right,
Yeah, and what, if I recall correctly, I
We
mean,
did it
I
in the
think
morning.
mine was 7:30 or 8
Yeah, we did
o'clock.
7:30 in the morning.
You know, it's a quickie, it's
so we can say
5
possibly the 9th.
And that's when I don't need to be, so it's,
Right.
So June 9th. Do we wanna do morning or evening?
you don't have to decide that if you don't want to.
Does the group have a preference? Beth, do you have a preference?
If I'm still in jury duty, I would prefer.
It'll be evening then.
Oh.
So we'll leave that open because of jury duty. I am gonna have confidence they won't seat the jury. How's that?
June
Thank you.
9th, I actually have a meeting that evening.
That evening?
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that's gonna take less than
So-
5 minutes.
Yeah, so if we did it like
At
at
5 p.m.?
6
Yeah,
or something,
absolutely.
I would be fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. With the new superintendent beginning employment on August 1st.
So we're doing second round interviews, we'll get them all in on the 6th, we think?
Correct, yes.
Right now, we think so.
Okay, and then deliberation on the 7th and take action on the 9th. So, okay, and knowing that we can extend these timelines, but if we can hold to these timelines, that gives
That's
the
good
most
structure.
amount of time to put ducks in rows.
Yeah.
Cause whoever we hire, their board's not gonna be in a huge hurry to let them go, so they're not gonna schedule a special meeting to accept a resignation,
Right.
so
Right.
we'll be on their timeline, I
And
would
then I think
assume.
that's something else we can talk about with whoever we hire. I mean, they have an August 1st beginning date, but if they can get out and they wanna do an overlap and orientation or come and learn or whatever,
Yeah, it's
we'll
all
talk about that
negotiable.
at that
It's all
time.
negotiable.
Right,
Okay,
yay,
that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I only have one other item that I was wanting to get to tonight, but it may not fit in style-wise, where you guys just got a great conclusion point here. In the summary of the candidate information, the the draft of the brochures. But one, two, three, four, fifth page.
Counting the cover?
Community.
It says the community at the top.
Yes.
At the bottom says qualifications.
Yes.
Um,
I was gonna ask you about that, actually.
It would have worked in a little earlier, but this is more important right now, to get the timeline. I'd like to get some feedback from you on the, some personal strengths, some qualities of a leader, some cultural things, or experiences. And I can take some notes of what your interests are. And I have some samples that I can share back with you then in that draft that says, if you said this and here's how I've worded it, does this sound correct in what you're thinking? I need 3, 4, 5 bullets of things that really would stand out as something that you're looking for in particular. You can see on the last page of the sample that I had there, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's nice, but I don't need that many. I can help with the wording of it, because like I said, we've done a lot of these. But if you don't mind just sharing your thoughts and whether you, just share your thoughts, I guess, on some of that is, if there are things that you're looking for that is important or critical in your next leader in particular.
I was gathering my thoughts and I went
Okay.
to different sites and I'll just randomly,
That's fine.
they're not in any particular order.
Okay?
I put an inspirational leader who's accountable and bases decision on what is best for students. Obviously, I think they'll have a successful teaching and administrative experience if they're applying. Second, I have an excellent, effective communicator who's a strong relationship builder, builds consensus with stakeholders, a collaborative approach. I put strong financial intelligence.
And send him those.
You can have my sheet.
Okay?
Visionary
I think I
and
got it, but-
innovative leader who values transparency.
I think I would move the transparency qualifier up with the communication statement.
Yeah.
Seems out of place
Yeah.
with vision.
Yeah,
I
you-
love every
yeah.
word that you've said so
You-
far, I love
I know,
it.
I'm just shaking my head, yes.
You
this
can
is
combine these how you
know.
want. This demonstrates a high ethical standards and leads with integrity.
I would say enthusiastic and energetic, because that's kind of what we're used to, like a rah-rah kind of, we need to have someone that's gonna continue to like not only rally staff, but parents and the students as well. And to me, the superintendent has to be able to connect with the students, even our youngest learners, and have that ability to interact with them when they walk into the classroom and talk to them, because that's what we're used to. So I've heard some stories about, great superintendents that just can't connect on a child level. And that's really one of the things that I consider to be very important, because it also engages the parents.
I have something similar to that, compassion for situations of each student who attends the school, cultural, socioeconomical learning challenges, that looks at each student for who they are. I also have promotes, develops, and monitors a sustainable long-range plan for a school district.
To include new buildings.
Well, that's why I said that, because you don't know what the long-range plan is.
Have they built buildings on their
I was trying to do it more globally, but that's.
I understand, but
You can say including facilities, curriculum.
yeah,
but-
I mean, to be very honest, like, if we could find someone who has already in their district, or been, even if they were a principal prior to and been involved in the construction of a new
Right.
building, that would be great. I mean, I know that's like finding a needle in the haystack, but that's fantastic,
More
because
common now than
those are our future needs.
Right.
And so somebody who has some vision with facilities and how to, not only upgrade what we have, but continue to improve our campus as a whole. Because we very much have a campus here. All of our buildings are in one, area. So to develop the campus feel, I think, is important. And also, like Beth said, with the educational component, we're always looking at improving our educational, not only the standards, but the way that we teach and the way that the kids learn. Something that we've already started talking about, something we started building on years ago. And so how do we continue to improve upon that? I'd like to have someone with some experience in doing that in their own district.
And I think, and maybe I'm just being naive, now the obvious will be stated, and I don't know if you put that in there, like, that they have to have the masters in
I was just
education
gonna say-
administration.
I was just
and
gonna
the
say that.
licensure. Does that say that somewhere? I mean, I think it's
Yes.
obvious, a
Yeah, I'm sure.
no-brainer, but.
Yes.
Right, like they have
There
to
is
have a
no
superintendent license
Yeah.
and.
We expect them to put that in
Sure, I
there.
guess I
Okay.
should put my.
That's what I wanted to make
It's
sure.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, because there's two different ways to do it under
There is an
the,
alternate one.
yeah, so under the revised codes, we're trying to like figure out,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
not the alternate, we want the typical
You'll
pathway.
see their actual certificates
Okay.
in their packets.
Okay,
And I prefer someone to have experience as an assistant superintendent or a superintendent, just because of some of the tasks we have coming forward. Looking at, two buildings that are aging in the next 8 years that we replace. We're looking at a levy, we're looking at union negotiation, so I think experience would be preferred.
yes,
So there's a couple ways to do that, and I'll write some things up first to help the candidates understand your needs. Second, you'll be able to see if they have those in their materials. And third, you'll be able to talk to them in the first rounds. And definitely in the second rounds, you'll want to dive into some of these
Right.
points.
Now, I don't want to, now here's the other part, I don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face.
Mhm.
Because if I have someone who doesn't have that experience, but they come in and they are just an outstanding character, and they show that they have this skill set and that they could hit the road running and that they could do these things, I don't want to preclude someone, I mean, putting it as a preference, but it doesn't mean it's a deal breaker if they're.
Maybe you
Can
could
they
say is
show that?
desired, use the word
Oh.
desired, the
I'll relay that
experience.
to him.
Yeah.
see, I disagree with that,
You do?
yeah,
I'll work on some words for you.
Go ahead.
I'll give you some
respectfully.
examples of things that we use that might fit here. From what you described, as far as their experience, something in the neighborhood of, we're looking for a strong, experienced leader. I'm doing this on the fly, so give me a chance here.
I don't
A strong, experienced district level leader with, I'm making this up as I go. Strong facilities and construction experience. That's too pinpoint, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
going,
get the gist of what you're
okay?
saying.
Right,
So I'm saying that, without saying, I need somebody from the district office.
Mhm.
So if I'm not from the district office, but I feel like I'm a strong leader that can do district office level leader, I can see how I might.
Right.
That's just an example.
Right, and the other thing to remember, we get a lot of criticism because now we have two superintendents. Well, people have people doing what Katie and Jeremy are doing and they don't call them superintendents. So we have to make sure we don't get caught up with titles that we want to have an assistant superintendent because we might have an amazing curriculum director or a business operations, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's
That
true. I
are
agree with
like
that.
the level of
I
people
agree
that we
with
would want to move up. So don't
Titles.
discount based on the
Because
title.
I agree
Titles are-
with that, 100%.
We made
Because I
this,
can think of a school nearby that has similar positions and different titles.
Right,
Yeah, I
right.
agree.
just in thinking through, I'm gonna start drafting this section tomorrow and get it back to you quicker,
Okay,
because this one's probably gonna need a couple rounds where some of the other stuff won't.
sure. Now, you had something you wanted to say.
Well, no, not in particular, because Beth just like maybe changed my mind a little bit on what I was going to say, to be honest with you, because
That's why we have these meetings.
you're right, because when I apply for a job, it like the qualifications are, you have to have this, this, and this.
Right.
And if I don't have that, I can't apply.
Right.
But in this situation, I understand what you're saying, like, we do call them assistant superintendents.
Right.
Other districts call them directors
Right.
or whatever. So, but they are doing the same kind of thing as our assistant superintendents are, so you're right. But the difference being that they're not,
They'll have the licensure.
they have the licensure and they also have more managerial, I guess, duties.
If I could help, central
Sure.
office experience is preferred.
Central
So
office.
central office
Yeah.
says to me, it's an assistant superintendent, it could be a business manager, it could be a
Right.
curriculum director. So it envelops all of those things.
Yeah.
That's a good,
It
Yeah.
excludes
that's a good.
guys like me, but it's central office.
Yeah,
The other
Yeah.
one to think about is when you get your process is this person's gonna join a team, and do you need them to join the team to fill in for places the rest of the team is not strong? Or do you need them to fill in places that you're not doing at all? Or do you need them to do pick up the work that somebody else is doing? So if you have multiple people in the superintendent's team, if you wanna call it that, do you have somebody that takes care of special education? You have somebody else that takes care of principal and teacher evaluation, or,
Yeah.
so that may help you be able to put the team together. And even though you have those people, you may prefer that the superintendent do that, and now you get these people doing something different too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean, you got a little bit of a moving table there.
well, at the end of the day, the superintendent is the CEO of the district, right? So it's gotta be somebody who can kind of manage all of those
Right.
other duties of the staff in place, you know,
Right.
to support the superintendent,
Right.
but to me, being the CEO of a $45 million educational system, like you've got to be a really strong candidate in multiple areas.
And you guys are a strong district, and you get that. Like I said, and if you other districts that are smaller, the superintendent's office is the superintendent, the treasurer, and an administrative assistant. That's it.
Yeah,
So-
right.
So that'll be it.
Does that
So-
go on here or is that just part of our deliberations?
It might, because again, I would want to know, that was a question that I asked earlier out of the gate, because if you're not, I don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste mine. If that's not of interest, then I'll step aside.
Right,
So I'm
and
just.
this came
I'm
up in
sorry,
other
Rita.
conversations, yeah, sorry. This came up in other conversations we were having, so, but, I'm gonna follow up on that though. So when we state everything, and I do this when I post things, I always put preferred, not required,
Yeah.
because there may be like a rock star that's missing some major component that we think is important right now sitting here, and once we meet this person, we're gonna go, you know what, it's okay that they don't have X and Y, because they have this amazing Z, so we're gonna hire them. So just kind of keep an open mind with candidates, and we're gonna get everything, we're gonna look through it, you're gonna come and sort of give your opinion, give some guidance, so, that'll all be
I don't know how
helpful.
to
Come
think,
together.
I have to be careful.
Right, guidance, you're right, I misstated, yes, sorry, I take that back.
No problem.
I agree with what you just said. The other thing we need to think about is, do we want somebody, how do I state this? Like, early in their career, who's gonna, make Kenston their career? Do we want somebody sort of at the end of their career that's gonna sort of steer the ship for a couple years, at which point we'll find somebody else to steer the ship? And I don't know if that's something we decide now that we sort of put in our, who we're looking for, is that just something we keep
I
in
was
mind?
actually thinking about the exact same thing.
I was,
Because, well, I don't know how you typically post. Do you post like 1 to 5 years experience, 5 to 10 years experience, more than 10 years experience? Like, do you post it like that? Or do you just post the position and see who applies because you don't want to exclude people based on time of service? Like, how do you typically post these?
I would say typically not what you described.
Okay.
More along the lines of, you're looking for a candidate, Kenston Local Schools is looking for a candidate that has these qualities, or you must be able to demonstrate these qualities. You don't have to have them, you must be able to show me that you can do them.
Right.
Our recommendation would be early on is to let your net be as big as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
And you will find, well, you guys have all been through this before, is there's nobody gonna check every box.
Right.
So which box is more important? Hard to say sometimes, because it depends on your combination of people you have and the candidates you've got. And so it's hard to put that in a box today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think,
So you'll have to, as you get closer, you'll start thinking through this, you'll see candidates, and you will, I want to know this about this candidate. Well, there's some of your questions, when you get to the- you know?
Or you can ask them, what are your goals
Yes, yes,
career-wise
yes.
when you're
Where do you wanna be in
interviewing?
15 years?
but to your point,
Yeah.
Beth, I think that is a big consideration when you're trying to figure out who you're hiring to fill a superintendent spot is what are we looking for? What, what do we want for the district? Do we want somebody at the tail end of their career? Or do we want somebody who's brand new to the superintendent world? I don't know. And I agree with you. I think it's kind of like, let's see what we get first.
Yeah, it's hard to say
We'll
now.
figure it out from there. Yeah.
Because
Because you don't want to exclude people just based on that.
you don't know the rest of their qualities.
Right.
And the other one I would say is, along that line, is that the candidates know that too. They know their strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
They should describe that in their letter. They should describe it in we have questions for them to answer too that pulls some of that out. And the strong candidates that are serious candidates will be prepared to answer your question.
Okay.
And if they're not, then that tells you something too.
Yeah.
But they should be prepared to answer those questions. And they should be prepared to answer pretty pointed questions eventually, because if you've done the reference checking and you talk to and you know something that you want to know, why, I need to know more about something, they need to be ready to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So let me put some things together, and then this may be one where we need 3 or 4 rounds, I think. It's not a problem.
Okay, that's
because
something you want to
we're
say?
not finishing.
And that's
till
in
next
that
week.
brochure,
I was
though, right?
thinking, because like, I think what I wanted to discuss is like
Can we do round robin?
how long someone's gonna be around, but like you said, we
Yeah.
can handle that later.
Yeah.
We'll see what's out there, and typically, you're gonna be able to tell by their experience and stuff, how long they're gonna probably.
Yeah, some of these things kind of like shake themselves out
Yeah.
after like you let people go through the process.
I mean, you don't wanna hire somebody that says, well, I'm gonna move to Florida in 3 years and, see, I just wanna finish out my
Right.
options here, but,
And you'll have, and there's some of those stuff on the notes here that we'll eventually have to, when we get farther along, your residency issues, some of those things. We normally don't put that in this part of the process now, because that's something you can ask, you only need to ask the finalists.
If they're, okay.
Well, that might be kind of a
And they're
challenge,
prepared- they should be
given the
prepared.
housing market right now.
And they should be prepared to address it in some fashion.
But you can always give them a time frame.
Yeah.
You can say within you can say within the next year,
It's all negotiable.
we would like for you to move to
Right,
the
'cause
district.
things we've done in the past, like somebody coming into somebody that doesn't live around here, that's coming here, we request that they move into our district. But somebody that's already established here, that can drive to work from where they're currently living, we would
Yeah.
not put that on the candidate, or we might not put that on the
Right.
candidate. So it truly, that's like way at the end.
yeah, I wouldn't expect somebody to move from Russell to
Right.
Cambridge because
Right.
we're
Right, that's
Right.
sort of a hardship in
Yeah.
this market
Yeah.
almost, so, yeah,
The
that's.
market is very difficult. One, there's not many houses on the market in there, and then the prices, I mean, what's going on? That's gonna be tricky, I don't know.
And there's all
Maybe
kinds
we
of
can
factors
ask, yeah.
that go into a person's decision about moving, that you can't figure them all out.
No,
Right.
So-
that's.
But we don't want somebody commuting from or Cincinnati.
No.
Like, there's a.
No.
That's typically the firemen you see do that, they drive like 3 hours to work for one day or
Right.
2 days.
Anything else you want?
I only saw one note that I forgot to mention earlier when we were working on groups. If there was any booster PTA type group that would need any special attention, either in the early focus groups or if potentially in the finalists.
I think all those
I was
people are
thinking we bundle
included
them
in,
with parents, but
they're parents,
Okay,
they're part
that's
of our.
fine.
They're all parents, yeah, it's just.
In some places, this is a
all that
big
way.
deal and they
Yeah.
need their special attention.
They're already part of our parent group.
Okay,
so yes, my only caveat is let's wait and see how those original focus groups go and see, and maybe that's when we add like a 4th for the final. So we have teachers, parents community, non-parent community, booster groups, PTO groups. But like if they bundle nicely into the family.
Though.
Yeah.
I
Tell
just
me
forgot
why,
to
what's the
I
rationale?
just forgot to mention that earlier.
And instead of teachers, I would put employees.
It's employee.
Yes,
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
We want all employees. But I mean, they're
No,
already captured. I'm
for-
looking at our time and our groups and getting rooms and stuff and
No
trying
problem.
to, do you know what I mean?
Pretty much
No, for the
everybody in
first one-
boosters and PTO, they
They're
are
all
all
parents.
parents.
They're all
Okay.
parents.
We
But if
just-
we
I just-
end up with like 500 people that show up at the parents group because we have so much demand, that's when we might want to split them out for round 2 and go, here we specifically want our PTO and our booster groups in this little group and all the other. I'm not in no way prepared to make that
No,
decision.
and
We're gonna have
that's
to
the
see.
thing,
It's just a
'cause
maybe.
if you start targeting one group, then it's like
Another
we have
group's gonna say,
to,
you
they're
give
all,
us a
right.
special.
No, for me, it's just crowd control. Like if that ends up being a high participation group in round 1 of focus groups, we might want to think of dividing them up in round 2 just for crowd control. But that's the only reason I could think to separate them out.
At some point, and I don't know if it's the first round or the second round, maybe it's just the second round, I think that we need to make sure that we're targeting our business owners in the area in Bainbridge and
It's part of
Auburn.
the community.
We can always reach out to
But we
individuals
need
and say,
to,
we're having
yeah,
this event.
I think we need to make a very concerted effort to get the business owners to make sure that they're aware of it and that we give them an opportunity to come because, they're stakeholders that 9 times out of 10 don't have kids in the district.
Do they already get together for some reason? Is there a-
Some of them
I was
do,
thinking
but not all of
Rotary
them,
or
yes.
Rotary
Kenston-
isn't so
Kenston
much.
Inc.
Kenston
was what
Inc.
they used to
Didn't
come
meet
to.
because of COVID.
Because of
Right.
COVID.
But do they have a way to distribute your information?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
not all of them are part of Kenston Inc.
But it
Right.
helps
So-
if you have already some built-in
Right.
distribution networks, take advantage of them.
Yeah,
Any
like
other information you'd like to get from us tonight?
Other than I
Rotary.
had an advertisement in the packet for one of our workshops coming up in May 6th and 7th,
Okay.
and the left side there. This is I believe our only workshop that is board members only,
No, I haven't looked.
not administrators.
when, May 6th and 7th?
And just, I
I
don't say
think you have
thank you.
some, I think you have something on your calendar.
I have something on my
Former
calendar.
teacher, Board member, so
Thank you very much for your time. We
I've
appreciate
been in
it.
your shoes in many ways.
Okay, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. Thank you kindly for your
Do
time.
you need a motion?
Please.
You wanna make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that we end the meeting.
Second.
Second. You wanna call roll, Mr. Costello?
Certainly. Mrs. Troutman,
Yes.
Mr. Bergansky.
Yes.
Dr. Kraus,
Yes.
and Mrs. Gaskin.
Yes. Thank you.